All right, we're on. Apologise for the slight delay there, everybody. We were just working out a few technical issues, but this is our first webinar after all.
It is our very first. Very exciting. And welcome to everyone on this day, which is International Credit Union Day, the 74th International Credit Union Day that there is. And the theme of this one is empowering your financial future. And at the moment, I don't think there's anything that we all need to do more.
No, it's very timely.
Take control of our financial futures now in what is very uncertain times. And that's part of the reason we decided to do this today.
Definitely, yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm Joe, by the way. Hello. We're both from Clockwise Credit Union. And like Emma says, it's International Credit Union Day today, which is the third Thursday of every year in October. And it's not just a UK thing. This is a global thing, because obviously the credit union movement is a global movement. So we're celebrating with credit unions all over the world today.
Just looking at the great things that all credit unions do, supporting their communities and the financial well-being of people within their local areas.
Definitely. So if you're in the chat, if you're watching us on YouTube, if you're in the chat and you have any questions, you can answer them. But we sent out an email to all Clockwise members and potential members, if you're on the Clockwise mailing list, asking for some questions about their financial futures. And we have a few questions here, but we'll try and answer any that come in the chat. So are you ready, Emma?
Ready as I'll ever be.
Okay, number one, the first question we got is quite a broad one, but how can Clockwise help during the current climate?
Yeah, but I'm going to introduce my name's Emma. I'm the operations manager here at Clockwise, and one of the main ways that we can help is we are very contactable. If you need to speak to someone about how we can help, there's someone on our phone lines, someone on our online services ready to talk to you. But we also have great products and services, and what I would say is one of the main ways you can shore things up is by starting off with one of our savings accounts. It is one of the facts that a lot of people don't have that little buffer in case something simple goes wrong. When I say so, it never feels simple when the washing machine packs up and you've got kids and there's washing and tumble drying, one thing or another. But that little bit of a buffer is so important to get into the habit of saving. We also offer small loans in case something does go wrong. You can't get your hands on that money that you need straight away. But I think what we've all got to do is look at money a little bit differently now, and that's where we can come in. We do, as I said, we've got savings, we've got our savings goals. So if you do want to look at just setting up that little bit of a saving, and you're either going towards something big or you're going towards something small, you can see where you are against it. And also, on the other side of things, if you do want help budgeting, we do budget accounts, which means that you can get some of your money put to one side to handle your bills, and the rest of your money is yours, and you know what you're managing. So there's lots of ways we can help people manage their money a little bit better.
I think everyone's finances are very personalised, aren't they?
Yeah.
So we can signpost people to the next step, but the first step, I suppose, would be talking to us.
The first step in anything, it's one of those things where, I don't know if you heard it when you were in, don't talk about politics or money at the dinner table. And it's one of those things that we get so het up about talking about our finances. And thinking back to the theme of International Credit Union Day of empowering your financial future, the only way you're going to get any power over that financial future is by thinking about it, talking about it, being open. Because if you keep it all to yourself, or just any issues or problems to yourself, that's when it kind of steamrolls and gets worse.
Definitely. Well, the next question sort of feeds in. I think that's, like I say, quite a broad question, the first one. The next one feeds into this. One of our members asked, will food prices ever go back down? We've heard that the inflation has been driven a lot by food, and it's at 10% at the moment. Yeah. A lot of people are really seeing that when doing the weekly shop. So is that going to stabilise? Is that going to go down?
Well, I'm not an expert in these things. We're seeing unprecedented times at the moment, and I don't think I've ever said unprecedented times so much.
Yeah, it's a word I never used until about 3 years ago.
It's unprecedented. But I think things are going, again, this is my opinion solely, but things are going to be difficult in the short to medium term, and they are going to be difficult for everybody, but more and more people that possibly are in more difficult positions than others. But I think for everybody there is a lot of hardship right now.
Yeah.
We're seeing, food banks are being used more and more, but because of inflation they're not getting the food in that they used to get. It's hard, but there are things that we can do individually. The UK has a large amount of food wastage. It's things like certain supermarkets now are taking best befores off vegetables.
Yep.
Because even though we've got into the habit of it's a day over,
And then chuck it.
throw it.
Yeah.
And that's not necessarily the case, particularly with fruits and vegetables. You can tell with when something goes over. There's everyone got into banana bread over lockdown.
Yeah, I made banana bread over the lockdown.
Yeah, if your bananas are going a bit soft, there are things you can do. I freeze them to put into my smoothies or protein shakes or whatever you do. There are other ways of keeping and again, it's things that I wouldn't have done in the past, like that's a very personal one. So I made a stew, and usually I don't like celery by itself, but I like it in a stew.
Yeah.
But instead of throwing away the extra celery or carrots, which I'd have just left in my fridge to go over, chopped it all up, and I made like little bags of stew starter packs and whacked
that's
that
a good
all
one.
in the freezer. So if you've got anything that's coming to the edge of what it's meant to be for, particularly with vegetables, look at what you can, like garlic, you can freeze that quite easily. So look at what you can kind of save for another day.
Yeah. There are great websites on there where you can have a look at what's in your fridge or your pantry, and then you can say, right, these are the ingredients that I've got, and it will tell you what you can make with it. And I think a lot of people got into the habit over lockdown when they weren't going to the shop so much. They sort of were forced to use the ingredients that they've actually got in. And I think people need to remember to keep that up. I mean, look in your pantry, look in your freezer, look in your fridge, especially if it's sort of near the end when you usually do your shop. There's websites where you can say, these are the ingredients I have, what can I make? Or like you say, make some starters, chop it up, freeze it. Don't waste.
Yeah,
because you've bought it, right? You've paid for it already.
And we've got to just be that little bit cleverer with what we do. Getting into good habits, it's a lot better. And cooking, and I'm old, so I remember home economics. Called it home economics, home ec.
Home ec.
It is something that we all need to get into the habit of doing, planning things through. And it's all very well to say, plan your meals. We all live busy lifestyles. You've not always got enough time to plan a week's worth of meals. Let's be honest. People at work, parents. Life is full on. Life is full on 9 times out of 10. But you can set yourself up so if you can't plan, you've at least got something you can deal with.
Yeah.
So it's, and also one of the things that when you think about it now is doing things now that are going to pay benefits in the future. So particularly for cooking, I think with stuff like get a slow cooker.
Yep.
Things like that, which means that you can use more ingredients and use it more sensibly.
Definitely.
Who's got enough hours in the day to make a stock? But if you can, do it.
Yeah. I mean, you can use your chicken carcass to make stock,
Yes.
and then that can be frozen, and then you can use that. I've read on slow cooker websites about about sort of preparing your meals, but you can bulk buy some
Dump
chicken
bags.
thighs or dump bags, make a load, freeze them. It's
Yeah.
it's always best to buy in bulk if you can.
If you can.
I mean, it's a little bit of a it can be a little bit of a hit if you just start buying in bulk, can't it? Because you've got to buy a lot of things at once. But if you can do that, and then it gets easier.
Yeah, and one of the things I would also say is worth looking for is things like if you are going to the cheaper shops, we've all heard the term shrinkflation.
Yes.
Have a little look. I think we've also got to get used to looking at not the headline price but the unit price.
Yeah.
So
Or the cost per gram. And
cost
things
per
like that.
gram, make sure that when you're buying, you're getting the best price per gram rather than the top line price, because it's not necessarily the cheapest way of doing it. Again, it's a bit difficult because bulk buying is sometimes the best way to do it if you've got the right price. You looked at the unit price, but sometimes it's that bit, if you've got a pound, you've got a pound.
Yeah.
So you're not always going to be able to bulk buy, and you have to go for that cheaper option. But maybe look at things like, you've got markets, you've got good old yellow stickers. See what you can do. And we spoke about freezing or saving food where you can.
Where you can. And things like, rice and pasta, you can buy a lot of that for often not much more money than it would be if you were buying a smaller amount. And have a look in like markets, like you say, but the world food aisle at your supermarket,
Yes.
often you get rice a lot cheaper than that. So I think to answer food prices, short to medium term, they're probably not going to go down,
No.
but there are ways you can combat it. And
Yes.
getting to the habit will help you if they do ever go down.
Yes.
The next question from a member is, what government support is still coming?
What government support is still coming? Well, we've got the next cost of living payment, which is coming for some benefit claimants. That is coming in November, I believe. It is coming to your normal account that you get your DWP payments come through. So you don't need to call your bank or you don't need to call us to get it. There's nothing you need to do. It'll come through and it'll be put into your account automatically.
And we don't have control about when that comes in. Do
No, we
just
don't
to
have any
process that.
control. We just have to process it and wait for it to come through. But that will come through to people automatically. There are also, I would say, to look online and make sure you're going to places like Turn to Us and the government website as well to make sure you've got all the benefits that you're able to get. You've also
There's the Clockwise benefit calculator available on the website as well to see if you're
indeed.
available.
You can make sure you have a little look at the Clockwise website.
Absolutely.
And also, there is the last, as I've started to get mine, the £400 energy payments.
Yes, which is coming in between now and the next couple of months.
It is.
Every month.
Until January, I think
January.
it is. If you have a direct debit, some places are crediting it to your bill, some places are sending it to your bank, so just keep an eye out for that. If you have a prepayment meter, I believe it's vouchers or it's being credited to your meter automatically.
Yeah.
There is some help out there. It's always worth going online and seeing what you can find.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Okay, so the next question we've got really feeds into that, and we might have already addressed it a little bit, but what's the latest on the energy price cap? Because it was only recently that was cut from 2 years of support to 6 months of support.
Yes.
So people are getting a bit worried about that.
Yeah, it's a bit of a scary time, really. Like you said, it's been cut down from the 2 years of support to the 6 months of support.
But I think what people are thinking that the prices are going to immediately rocket after those 6 months, but it's not necessarily been scrapped as it is that they will reassess after 6 months and maybe give more targeted support. So if you are struggling, it could be that support will continue to you, but if you're a bit more affluent, then maybe your support will be reduced. But at the moment, I think the answer is we don't know, do we?
Yeah.
No one knows what's going to happen after those.
There's been some alluding to making energy savings and energy efficiencies. So a lot of the European countries have done up to a certain amount of usage. There is support, and then over that. So I don't know if our government will follow suit. Either way, making energy efficiencies at the moment, let's face it,
even if
everyone
the
needs.
prices weren't going up, it's worth saving money by just being aware of your energy usage.
Yeah.
I mean, you can get, it isn't an upfront cost, but you can get those plugs that will monitor the kilowatt hours. And you were showing me a Martin Lewis video, which we'll put on the Clockwise Facebook page, about how to work out the usage of any one, device and cost that, work out how much it is to, have your microwave on. But I use way too much electricity, and I have been trying to work out, with my smart meter, I turn something on, I look
How
at the
much is that
live data
using?
of the smart meter, see if I can work out what comes on, and reducing is always good, no matter if you're struggling with payments or not.
Yes.
it's always a good idea to pay less.
Oh,
I've done things like I was telling you earlier about turning down the flow rate on my boiler,
Yeah.
electric blanket in the evening rather than have the whole house heated. You use the phrase "heat the person, not the space."
Yeah.
Um,
I got one of those big fluffy jumpers.
Yep.
You know, the
ones that have hoods and big
hoods
arms and
and
everything.
their fleeces. I've got me and my daughter one of those, and
There you go.
they're snuggly.
But I think it's important to say as well that don't just not have your heating on,
Yes.
because having a cold house increases damp, and that could be another cost in the future.
Yes.
I think it's about trying to keep it at
Keep it as a sensible level.
a sensible level, and if you get cold, rather than turning it on, another jumper,
Yeah.
electric blanket, things like that.
It's a very strange time. It's a very strange time, and you've got the heat the person, not the home. You don't want anything getting damp, and it's not always suitable for everybody. You know, if you have, again, medical concerns, or you are that bit older, make sure you're staying warm enough, and always, you know, look for the help that you can get.
Yeah.
Because if you are of, you know, certain groups, you are going to be able to get some help somewhere. So make sure you're looking for the help you can get and claiming on that. Don't. I think the days are gone where people worrying about claiming need to be out the window. If you are entitled to it, then go and
Yeah,
claim
definitely
it.
get what you're entitled to.
Absolutely.
Yeah, because you're paying for it one way or another.
Yes.
You know. Yeah, I think that's important. So the next question is, how can I save? Is it worth putting money aside even if I don't have much going in? And we alluded to this a little bit earlier, didn't we?
Yeah. It's always worth making those small level savings. And when I say small level, that is very subjective.
Yeah.
Because what's small to one person could be massive to someone else. There's lots of savings challenges. So there is the penny a day one, or you can do £1 a week. So if you did £1 a week, this week I'd save £1, next week I'd save £2. And even if you can't keep that up through the entire year, even doing it halfway, that's a nice little chunk. And have those goals for yourself, so you can say, right, I need to save this much for X. And sometimes it's quite rewarding to save. You kind of get a little bit...
Yeah,
ooh.
once you get a little bit of a buffer, you're sort of looking like you don't want to break it, do you?
Yeah.
Especially if it's nice round numbers. If
Yes.
you've got 200 in your account, you're like, oh, I don't want to
touch that.
Yeah.
And it's always good to have that little bit of money there for a rainy day.
Mhm.
It's a very rainy day today. I'm just looking outside. It's awful.
It is terrible.
But yeah, it's always great to have that little bit of money there. Also, look at your interest rates. What is sensible? We're going through, again, I'm going to use the term unprecedented times when it comes to rates and rate changes. You know, look at weighing up one thing against another. If you've got some, you know, say you're saving to pay something off, look at the interest rates. What's going to pay you more? Is it going to pay you more to save, or is it going to pay you more to pay off what you need to pay off? You know, what will your net gain be? And if it's going to actually be more worth it for you to just pay down your debt rather than save,
Yeah.
pay down your debt. You know, it's good to make sure that you are in a strong financial position. Make sure you've got that little bit of money you can get hold of, but once you've got that to one side, if you've got debt, pay it down.
We said earlier as well that it could be that you're in a position where if you've got an outstanding debt, the APR is quite low and you can get a better return on savings.
Yes.
And intellectually, that's the best thing to do. But you've also got to know yourself and know that if I save, I'll be tempted to spend that on other things.
Yes.
And psychologically, it might be better to pay down your debt rather than save if you're aware that you're sort of the person that would find it difficult not to dip into those savings just day to day.
Yeah, and you know, I'm not going to lie. Sometimes you just
We've
look
all
at it and
done
say,
that.
we've all done it, gone, sod it. Whoops. So
We are live.
We are live, excuse me. I'm going to go and have a Chinese this week. You know, it's one of those things. It's human nature.
Definitely.
So, yeah.
So to be aware of the type of person you are, you know.
Yeah.
It's not always the
easy option.
easy option.
But yeah, you know, it's saving is a habit. It's actually something you have to get good at. It's not something that comes naturally to everybody. It's a learning curve, and it is one of those things that, like you say, you've got to know yourself. Some people would rather it's there one day and it's gone the next, and it's a habit, and it's something you have to get into the habit of doing.
Definitely.
This is what I do. This is there was something that I read about once where it's like you split your wages down into your costs. I think it's 70% living costs, 20% to something that you need, that type of thing, and then 10% save. That should be your monthly, so 70, 20, 10.
I've never done that though, have you?
No, I've never done it once. But it's not everyone could put away 10% of their monthly income nowadays.
Definitely not.
Particularly not now. But if you can get to that position,
that's the ideal, isn't it?
70,
but don't
20,
not
10.
do it just because you can't meet the ideal.
Even if you're doing, one, you're doing a little bit, and a little bit isn't enough.
And a year from now, you'll look at that amount and think that's significant. I think as well, when you're say you cancel Netflix or you come to the end of a loan or something like that, and you've got a little bit of extra money a month, the temptation is to go, I've got more money, what can I do with that money?
Yes.
But if you're looking for something to do with it, then maybe that's the sort of money that you can save. And if you're already in the habit of paying it every month, then you can afford it, that's the kind of money you can put into a savings account, even if it is only £10 a month or something. We've covered savings. Another question is, when is it responsible to borrow?
When is it responsible to borrow? I do believe in setting out a budget.
Mm-hmm.
Now, we all need a little bit of extra help every so often, and it's only really responsible to borrow if it's affordable, if it's within your budget, and you've looked at everything that you've got outgoing. Just make sure, if you are in a position where you do need to borrow, like I said, budget everything out. Look at what you've got coming in, look what you've got going out. Try and model it against, we've mentioned the 70, 20, 10. If that, that's got to be part of your 70. That's got to be part of your living costs, and anything that's on top of that. So you've got to it's got to be manageable and affordable. You've also got to know within yourself that your situation, plan for any changes. So no one knows 100% what's coming down the road. But if you know that say you're borrowing now and you've got, let's take a benefit income, or you've got a child that is at the end of their school term, hitting 18, your benefit income will change, it will go down. So if you're looking at borrowing at that point, just take into account when your benefit income changes, you're going to have less money. In the same sense of, if you're borrowing whilst pregnant and you're working and you're going on statutory maternity pay, your income's going to drop. So look at what's coming in the future. Also, kids cost a lot of money, so your income, will change. So try and plan for the things you can plan for that are coming. That makes sense.
I think the one final question, we have covered it a little bit, but what should people do if they can't pay their energy bill, if they just don't have the money?
Yeah.
What's the first step? Because that's a question that I think a lot of people might find themselves in for the first time.
Yeah, and I think it's going to be one of those ones, like you say, for the first time, for a lot of people, they're looking at their finances and thinking, oh, gosh. I always say, just make sure you're talking to your providers. And this is with any debt. This isn't just if you're not able to pay. This isn't just energy, this is anything. Make sure you are talking to the providers, because when those lines of communication close, that's when the processes that they have in place will start moving swifter than you possibly are ready for them to. But when it particularly comes to energy providers, if you have a debt with them, this is only on the debt, they have to set up a sensible repayment plan for you. That's part of their regulation. They, at the moment, just keep an eye on your direct debits. I know there's been a lot of furore about, you know, how much direct debits are being put up.
Yeah.
Just keep an eye on those direct debits, keep that open line of communication with them, and just try and set up a sensible payment plan.
Definitely. I mean, they do have to tell you before they change the direct debit. That's part of the direct debit guarantee,
Oh,
isn't it?
absolutely, yes.
So it's not going to be an unexpected payment.
No.
And it is often, I think I read, it was something like 6% cheaper to pay with direct debit.
Yes.
So it is the right way to go. You shouldn't just cancel your direct debit.
And don't do and as much as you don't want to pay, things move quite quickly, particularly with utilities. So you might do I'm not paying, then they might do something like put in a prepayment meter, which you might not want because it's that bit cheaper by direct debit. If you're already on a prepayment meter, they will start adding the debt to your prepayment meter. So you'll pay it through your every time you top up.
Yeah.
So
keep in contact with your provider.
Absolutely.
They should be able to signpost you and help you. I mean, there are some grants at the moment from British Gas and things like that.
Yes.
And that may continue. Again, we don't know because of the unprecedented times.
Unprecedented times, yeah.
But I think a lot of the things that we've discussed today, it comes down to not ignoring your finances, and just you have to face them head on if you're going to get ahead of them, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Or don't be afraid of calling your providers. Don't be afraid of talking to them, and don't be afraid of having open conversations with, again, it's one of those things within household dynamics, in that if one person feels that they've got control of the finances and the other person, and no one knows how, don't keep it all on your shoulders, because that's when it starts really affecting your mental health. Talk to someone. There are lines of help out there that you can go to. Definitely.
Well, that's the end of the questions. I just want to make a plug for the Clockwise Facebook, Instagram, newsletter and website, because the things that we've discussed today, like if there's new government support announced, for example, we'll post that on Facebook. We'll put a blog post about it. We'll put it in our newsletter and try and keep members informed. Some of the things we've discovered today about money saving tips on eating and heating, they're covered in recent blogs. We've had a question, the question's been taken away, but I think somebody asked about if there's any online courses you can take for sort of first steps. We've put out a blog recently that has sort of budgeting for beginners, and how to put a household budget together, when to save, what to do. That's aimed at people at all different levels of finance. So there's a lot of help out there, and if there's not something specifically mentioned on the Clockwise website, get in touch with us, because we can probably signpost you to someone who can help. Right? Yeah. Great. Do you have anything to add, Emma?
No, just I was like I said, it's going to be difficult times ahead, but I know that there is a whole community out there that is looking to support people. If you are wanting to, feeling confused about your finances, or that you're wanting to talk to someone about your Clockwise account, always call our staff or contact us online. You can use all our bank services online, so our banking services online, so you can do all that very easily. But yes, it's going to be a strange year or so, I would say, but I'm sure, and again, it's one of the great things about being within credit unions is the cooperative nature of credit unions. And thinking back to International Credit Union Day, which is the reason why we're here today, it's one of the things is celebrating that cooperative nature. And I think if we take that into our lives and forward into our communities and helping each other and working mutually and cooperatively, I think as communities we can get through this.
Well, I think that's a great ending.
Well, thank you very much.
There you go. Well, thanks for joining us, everybody. We are going to try and do another webinar, or at least answer these type of questions more frequently on the Clockwise blog. So there'll be some information going about that soon. So yeah, thanks for joining us.
Thank you.